Good morning, dear sir and everyone. I am AAY Yashodhara who came here to present about the selected accounting standard, which is LKS 41 Agriculture. From here onwards, we are going to present the following topics. So, when it comes to the objective of LKS 41, it is considering the biological assets which are growing the value day by day. And also, it is treated the businesses which are only doing the plantations. When it comes to the scope of LKS 41, it shall be applied for biological assets except bearer plants. Biological assets are living assets. It can be divided into two categories, which are consumable and bearer. If a plant or animal harvested themselves, it comes under consumable. As an example, teak tree used to get timber, it comes under consumable. Then, if a plant or animal produce the harvest, it comes under bearer. As an example, the mango tree used to get mangoes until it dies. Therefore, bearer plants are coming under LKS 16, which is property, plant and equipment. Second one, agricultural produce at the point of harvest. It means, as an example, if the harvested mangoes at the point of harvest, it comes under the agricultural produce. Last one, government grants covered by paragraph 34 and 35. It is considered if the fair value of biological asset is less only, can be received government grants. Then LKS 41 does not apply followings. As mentioned in LKS 41, the agricultural produce can recognize initially at the point of harvest. Because after the point of harvest, the agricultural produce is converted into agricultural product. So these agricultural products are coming under LKS 2 inventories. When it comes to the examples, if we select grapevines, it's a biological asset. Then the grapevines are converted into picked grapes in agricultural produce. It's at the point of harvest. Then after the point of harvest, the agricultural produce is converted into agricultural products as wine. So then, thank you for your time and attention. Now I would like to invite Tarushi to give a clear cue about the definitions of LKS 41. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasuri. Now I am going to talk about what is the definition given by the standard relation of LKS 41. Living animal or plant can consider as biological assets. Harvest producers, the entity's biological assets can consider as agricultural produce, and detachment of a produce from a biological asset or the cessation of a biological asset's life process can consider as harvested. For example, when plants are planted for the purpose of obtaining fruits, when plants are called biological assets, fruits are called agricultural produce. Plants are planted for the purpose of obtaining fruits can called harvest. According to the standard, biological assets we can divide it into two main parts, bearer assets and other biological assets. Bearer assets main characteristic are production or supply of agricultural produce and bearer produce for more than 1 year and remote likelihood of being sold as agricultural produce. For example, rubber, tea. Other biological assets main characteristic are plants are cultivated for the harvested agricultural produce and annual crops. Main examples are timber and wheat. And also, standard is definition by the agricultural activity is management by an entity of a biological transformation of biological assets for the purpose of sale, for the purpose of harvesting agricultural produce, and for the purpose of conversion of additional biological assets. And common features of agricultural activity we can identify: capability to change, management of change, and measurement of change.
Thank you, Tarushi. Let's now see how to recognize as an asset under LKS 41. We know that there are three conditions that must be met in identify an asset. If they are: entity control the asset, a result of the past events. It's possible to future economic benefits associated with the asset will follow in the entity, and the fair value or cost asset can be measured reliable. Once a company has identified an asset, we look at how to measure it. A biological asset should be measured at the initial point and subsequent as the fair value of the asset less the cost to sell the asset. That means according to the concept called fair value concept to sell. And the agriculture produce is measured according to the concept of the fair value to cost to sell. As example, ABC PLC is a plantation company that has a forest of 100 mahogany trees that were planted on 5th April 2009. The tree taken to 25 years matured and will be used for timber for furniture after the end of 25 years. The weighted average cost of capital of the company is 15%. The market value of the mahogany trees as of 31st March 2019 and 31st March of 2020 are 26,000 rupees and 26,500 rupees respectively. Determine the fair value of the forest as at 31st March 2019 as at 31st March 2020. Now, when looking for a fair value of the year 2019, since there is no active market for 2009 to 2019, we can find the present value for future cash flow separately. Then the fair value for the year 2019 can be calculated as 319,525 rupees, and the fair value of the year 2020 as a 374,520 rupees, and then show us the from 2019 to 2020 the fair value has increased by 54,994 rupees. This should be shown in the profit and loss account as the fair value gain in the year 2020.
Thank you, Nick. Government grant. In LKS 41, there are specific guidelines governing the recognition and treatment of government grants related to biological assets based on whether they are unconditional or conditional. An unconditional government grant related to a biological asset measured at its fair value, less cost to sell, is recognized in profit or loss only when the grant becomes receivable. This means that the entity acknowledges the grant as income at the point when it is assured of receiving it. However, when a government grant related to a biological asset is conditional, the recognition in profit or loss contingent upon meeting those conditions. If so, the entity records the grant as income only when it fulfills the condition attached to it. It's important to note that if a government grant relates to a biological asset measured at its cost less any accumulated depreciation and impairment losses. The principles outlined in LKS 20 are applied. Now I invite to Amalia to continue the session.
Thank you, Ashwin. Now I'm going to talk about the disclosures of LKS 41. The general disclosures under LKS 41 are as follows. The first one that should be disclosed are aggregate loss or gain arising during the current period, which arise due to initial recognition of biological assets or agricultural produce, and also arising due to the change of fair value less cost of sales. The second one that should be disclosed is a description about each group of biological assets and the basis for such distinguishment of biological assets into groups. And those descriptions should be either narrative or quantifiable. The main reason for making such distinctions is because it is helpful to assess the timing of future cash flows. The main groups that can be categorized are consumable or bearable biological assets, or major and immature biological assets. The next point that can be disclosed is a reconciliation of change of carrying amounts occurring from the beginning to the end of the period. The reconciliation should consist of loss or gain from the fair value less cost of sales, increase due to purchases and business combinations, decrease due to harvest, and biological assets held for sale, and also due to other factors. The last point on the general disclosure is that we should disclose the existence of and the carrying value of biological assets where the title is restricted, and also the biological assets which are pledged as securities. In addition to the general disclosures, there are disclosures which are used when the fair value cannot be reliably measurable. When the fair value cannot be reliably measurable, the biological assets are measured at cost less accumulated depreciation and impairment loss. When the situation is like that, the following disclosures should be made additionally to the general disclosures. The first one is why fair value cannot be measured reliably. The second one, the possible range in which fair value can be highly lying to. The third one is the used depreciation method, depreciation rate, and useful life. And the last one, the carrying value and accumulated depreciation at the beginning and at the end of the current period. Also, when the fair value can change to a reliably measurable fair value, the following should be disclosed. They should disclose why the fair value suddenly became reliable, and also the effect of the change. So this is the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.